Good evening, Facebook and YouTube family. I am so excited for you to join me today on an episode of Convo with Keisha. I know it's been a while, I've been gone, but now your girl is back. And I'm so excited to have Dr. Christy Walker as one of my guests. Welcome, Dr. Christy. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here too. Thanks for having me.
Yes. I'm so excited to talk with you. But before we get too deep into everything, start by telling everyone who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Dr. Christy Walker. I'm originally from Hampton, Virginia, but now I live in Durham, North Carolina. So I am a HBCU graduate. I graduated from North Carolina A&T with my bachelor's in chemical engineering. While I was at A&T, I was a member of the Blue and Gold Marching Machine, amongst other things. So that's our marching band, and I'm a second generation Aggie, and my parents actually met in A&T's band. So I'm the second generation to march in the band. And I worked as a chemist. I've worked as an engineer before, switched careers, and then went into higher education, which is where I've been in higher education for the past 17 years or so. And so, yes, now I currently work at a community college, and I'm director of career services. But through all that time, I've been a HBCU advocate, and more specifically a HBCU band head, a band advocate. Followed the band, pretty much for decades,
Right.
and all HBCU bands. So I'm sure we'll touch on this a little bit later, but I came, myself along with Michael Lee, we created a website for HBCU band heads in 1999 called The Fifth Quarter, and it lasted for 20 years. And so we just shut down the site in 2019. So it was from 99 to 2019. But through that site, I was able to, meet different people from HBCU band programs. We have just created like a family online. And so that's a big part of what I've done. It's taken a lot of time. And now I do an HBCU band podcast. It's called the HBCU Band Experience with Christy Walker, where I get to interview HBCU band alumni. So it's hard to kind of sum up everything. Just really
I love that. That is so cool. So I know you say you got this love for HBCUs. Was an HBCU your first choice?
Yes, it was my first choice, and actually, I only applied to HBCUs. I applied to like 5 schools, and a lot of people might think that it's a common misconception, because my parents are very active A&T alumni. They always support the athletics departments and things like that, big boosters and all that. And everybody thought, well, Christy, your parents made you go to A&T. No, that's not the case. My parents did not force me to go to A&T or anything like that. But what they did say was that for your undergrad, you're going to go to a HBCU. It doesn't matter I don't care what you do for your graduate education, but for undergrad, you're going to go to a HBCU. So I grew up ingrained. It's pretty much all I know, for the most part. From the time I was 4 years old until college I was just exposed to different HBCUs.
Oh, wow. And see, for me, I started at an HBCU in Baton Rouge, and then I wound up coming home, and I completed my education at a predominantly white institution. But as I talk with so many people who have attended HBCUs, it's a totally different experience. And I don't regret my education at all. I think I got an excellent education, met and created some really good connections. But the feel I get is family. It's really family oriented, and it doesn't stop when you graduate. It continues on for years and years and years. And so I just love that experience that I hear you all talk about that have attended HBCUs. I think that's the only thing that I've probably missed from attending a predominantly white school is that sometimes those connections are severed after school because we really don't have much in common. anymore.
Right.
And then we just go on.
But the funny thing is that it's like if you go to a HBCU and you did go to one, even though that's technically not where your degree's from, but I mean, you still can relate to a lot of the things. And I
Mm-hmm.
bet if you were to go to anybody else's homecoming, because you said Baton Rouge, so you went to Southern, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you went to like, A&T's homecoming or FAMU's or whoever's homecoming, I still think that you would be able to, you know, be welcome with open arms. There may be a little bit of trash talk because they're like, you went to Southern, you know. But I
Right.
mean, but generally just that having that experience is it's like you get this sense of family of
Right.
other people that went.
Exactly. A friend invited me to Prairie View's homecoming. It was
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming, to say the least. But it was a great experience. I got to see sorors,
Mm-hmm.
there, because the sororities are universal. It doesn't matter where you go. But it was
Mm-hmm.
just so much fun. I mean, and it was overwhelming because there was just so much going on at one
Mm-hmm.
time. I was like, oh my gosh, when do you people sleep?
Well, you
Like,
got to go in there with a game plan. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You know what I mean? You got to go in there with a game plan and have intentions. That's
right,
why. Well, of course, before pandemic, people were like, in past homecomings, people were like, okay, well, we're getting tickets to this party so long in advance because, like, you got to have a game plan.
right. Yeah, I said next time I'm definitely gonna have a plan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely gonna have a plan because I was like, whoa, and and I've met um some people from A&T. I've had the awesome pleasure of interviewing them as well, and of course, I got that invite to homecoming, and then COVID happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I know whenever we, get back to normal, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure I give me some B12 shots. I'm gonna be up. I'm gonna be
There you
ready.
go. Keep your stomach full, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I say I'm gonna be ready. So I just love that. And so being a band head, as you call it, tell
Yes.
us about your HBCU experience with the band.
Okay. Well, ever since I was about 4 or 5 years old, I grew up like watching HBCU bands.
Mhm.
I'm from Hampton, Virginia, so that's where Hampton University is located, and then
Right.
30 minutes down the road is where Norfolk State is located. And so, going to games with like my grandmother when I was little. I just remember seeing the bands and enjoying the bands, and then it just ended up progressing through
Mhm.
like grade school. My parents are active alumni and would go to games, and I would just see it there at the games, just going all the way through grade school, and then I get to
Mhm.
high school. And so my first band camp was a big adjustment once I got there. It was a
Wow.
huge physical adjustment, and the thing is, I thought I had prepared ahead of time. I caught myself, trying to get in physical shape in the summer before. It wasn't enough. It
Oh
wasn't enough.
wow.
You can
Oh wow.
you can't really prepare for it. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not in the military, but I mean, I've heard veterans who marched in the band. It's like they talk about like when they go to their first base training
Yeah.
and their basic training, and they talk about how, like, sometimes they'll say that the band program, the band trained them harder than their basic training, or at least they had kind of like the mindset. So when they did go into basic training, they were a little bit
That was
prepared.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. That is a lot. And I mean, we've
Yeah.
seen movies, we've seen Drumline,
Hmm.
we've seen all of these movies. And when I talk to people, they're like, it's close, but it ain't, it's harder than what.
Yeah, yeah. There are some stark differences because
Yeah.
they've got to Hollywood it up. They got to Hollywood it
Yeah.
up a little bit, but there are some things that were similar and some things that were not. I'll just leave it like that.
Oh my gosh, that is that is so funny though. So when I think about an HBCU, I think about family, I think about this whole experience, but I can never think about the experience without the band.
Hmm.
That's one of the main things to me about an HBCU experience, as well as getting a wealth of knowledge about your heritage, where you come from,
Hmm.
a lot of studies that we don't get when you attend a predominantly white school. So, you know, Tell us more about why you feel the band is instrumental to that entire experience.
Well, like you said, a lot of times HBCU bands are the face of the university,
Yeah.
so they are definitely in that role where they are doing the marketing for the university. Whenever you see any kind of media clip talking about any HBCUs, you'll hear that band music in the background, even if that particular HBCU did not have a band, because there are
Right.
plenty of them that do not have band programs. But
Mm-hmm.
you better believe in their commercial, when they're trying to advertise for students to come there, you better believe they're gonna put some band music in the background. you know
Right.
so it's just really vital, and you definitely get that sense of family and camaraderie marching with folks. I mean, it's kind of like, I didn't have to march in your program, or I didn't have to play your instrument, but it's all that common thread that we have in common. So
Right.
when I meet people, they'll be like, "Oh, well, I marched trumpet at Delaware State," or I was drum major at Miles, or something. It'll
Right.
still be that common experience that we have. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. I see it definitely as like the heartbeat of the campus. I
Mm-hmm.
can remember my first day at Southern, very intimidated from a very small town in Louisiana, and moved to this big city in Baton Rouge. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
that band is renowned.
Yep.
People know the band, knew, the band director, those things. And then it's like that's what greets you when
Mm-hmm.
you step on campus. Anywhere throughout the campus, even as big as it is, the band,
Yes.
what it is. And it's just funny how when you watch the movie Drumline, how each section talks about how they're the heart,
Yeah.
they're this,
Mm-hmm.
they're that. But when you think about the total HBCU experience and the
Mm-hmm.
entire campus, you think of the band as that
Mm-hmm.
heartbeat that makes people. I mean, we want to see the football game, but hell, we want to dance too in the stands.
Exactly, because that's what
We
makes us
look forward
unique.
to that.
That's what makes us unique.
Right.
I've worked at PWIs before, and I've been to
Mm-hmm.
their games and their homecomings, and I'm not knocking them, but it's just different. It's just really different. And
It
so,
is.
a big part of that is the spirit that the HBCU band brings to it.
Right.
But I will say, you're right. I can remember going to Visitors Day. I think they call it University Day at A&T,
Mm-hmm.
where it's for high school students to come and step on the campus, and it's kind of used as a recruitment tool. And I just remember
Right.
the band being there. Like, I remember that in the 12th grade,
Yes.
and that just being a huge deal, and people getting excited, like all my high school classmates and whatnot getting excited
Right.
seeing that. So yeah, it's just such
Right.
an integral part.
Yeah, and when you think about parades, you think
Mm-hmm.
about, I mean, even movies now are incorporating HBCU bands
Yes.
into them, just for the music. But I love just the style. And
Mm-hmm.
it's this sense of pride, and it's this air. And I hate to use the word air to be arrogant, but this is air, like we're distinct. We
It's
work
confident.
hard to be able to get to this spot on this field. You got to earn them spots. They're not just given. You have to earn them.
And it's confidence, and it's
Right.
swagger, and especially for your alma mater, Southern, just especially,
Yeah.
they're a program that is known for having a lot of swagger and confidence. So
Right.
I can see where you like that, and where you get used to that coming.
Right. So talk to us a little bit about the book. Don't give a
Okay.
lot away because we want them to get it when it drops
Yeah.
in. But
Yes.
just talk a little bit about, your aspect of the book.
Well, I'm so excited about this because so I want to give a shout out to Dr. Ashley Little, who approached me about being a part of this book. It's called the HBCU Experience, which is an anthology of books from different HBCUs, and that she's putting together. And she came to me and said that she wanted to do a band version, which I was like, "Hey, that's great." So
Right.
I'm lead author there, and we have many band heads from different programs, different instruments, different conferences, the whole 9 yards,
Mhm.
telling their stories about how when they marched and what HBCU band means to them and how it helped to make them who they are today. And my chapter talks a little bit just about my band story and some of the, how I was first exposed to the band, and then how there were some games, some memorable matchups that I talk about and why they were significant to me. And so I'm excited to talk about that. And I talk a little bit about, my experiences with the fifth quarter and what I've been able to accomplish with that. And so, not to give too much away, but
I
it's
know,
good. It's
because
good.
we want
Definitely
them to
get
get
it.
the book. Yes.
Because everybody's got a different story. And
Right.
I think the reader will be pleased to
Right.
hear some of those things.
Right. I'm excited. I can't wait. I love Dr. Ashley. She is one of my bestest friends, like in the world.
Mhm.
She is amazing. And anything she puts out, I am definitely going to support her in any way, possibly. But what I love is how she brings these storytellers together to tell one story, but everybody's experience is different. Although you may have been in the same band, you went to the same, type of school at HBCU, but everybody's experience is so different. And I love how she puts this all together, where you all can reach readers. You can share so much about what that's like, that hopefully, incites other people to say, I want to go to the HBCU. I
Yes.
want to experience that too. I think it's so important that we go to schools that look like us, that resemble us, talk about us, and things like that, that give us such a sense of pride in
Yes.
our experience.
And my conversations with Ashley, she is in the same, mindset as you. Like, she wants the book to help to reach others that may have been thinking about an HBCU, and they read the book and say, hey, you know what? It's worth it. I need to go ahead and
Right.
accept this, go to this HBCU and marching band. And I mean, I feel that way too, but
Right.
so that's really my hope. And I think it's really important for our stories to be heard, because I will
Exactly.
tell you, as somebody who has been ingrained in HBCU band culture for a long time, we don't have a lot of our stories written down. It's been kind of passed
That's it.
stories from generation to
Yeah.
generation. There have been few people that have written books on their program, not a lot. Some people have written like theses and dissertations on a
Right.
band program, but honestly, like these firsthand accounts, these stories are not documented. And I'm pretty sure it's the first book that is out there that documents
Right.
these HBCU band stories like that. So I'm just really proud to be a part of it and to be lead author in that. I think it's such a big deal, and it's really important.
Yes. Yes, I love it. I think it's absolutely amazing. And I think too, it just sets a precedent of how great we are and what our history looks like. Music is so powerful to some degree. And I know for me, going to a predominantly white institution, but having friends that were at HBCUs, even attending games at HBCUs, not really understanding the significance of that school. But just knowing that while I was there, their music was just so insightful. Like, it was just so much fun. Like, everybody, what is having fun. Everybody is joyful. And music does things to us. It does good things to us. It
Yes.
gives good feelings. And when you have a great band, that can touch certain things, it's just like, it's all amazing. It's just
Yes.
amazing.
Yes, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was telling them, I was like, music really does save lives. I mean, it
Yes.
does sound like a cliche, but it saves lives. And these programs, a lot of times, and I have to give credit to the high school programs, the feeder programs, the middle school programs, and even the elementary school programs that instill that plant the seed, basically.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times these students, in a lot of cases, students are able to have a creative outlet, and some that may have been on the street getting in trouble, they don't have that element
Mm.
anymore because they've got to be at rehearsal. And so yeah, I'm just definitely a proponent for music helping in that
Right.
way.
Right. I think it opens a whole lot of doors. Like you said, for kids who may be that troublemaker in class, or who doesn't have anything to do after school and maybe initially joins band for this one reason, but grows into such a love for it to where it paves the way
Mm-hmm.
for them to get a really good quality education. And that doesn't mean they have to stay in music because
Mm-hmm.
they get a band scholarship or whatever, but it just opens the door for them, to be able to do something else beyond high school with something that they probably never thought would even go that far.
Right. And you mentioned something good about the scholarships. People can get full rides to college to march in the band, and you don't even have to be a music major in some cases. Not
Right.
nothing there's nothing wrong being a music major. I'm all about that. That's great.
Exactly.
But you can get that education, and you can to play your instrument just like an
Mhm.
athlete, to play basketball or volleyball or whatever. So,
Right.
yeah.
Oh, that's so great. So, what's your involvement now with the band? I know it didn't end. You
Yes.
talked a little bit about the collaboration with you and someone else. So, what is your involvement with your HBCU band now?
Well, I do a podcast. So I have a podcast called the HBCU Band Experience with Christy Walker, where I interview alumni of different HBCU band programs, different instruments, different schools, you name it, to just kind of find out what their experience is for. Because again, I'm all about people telling their stories. So this
Right.
is just people telling their stories in an audio format. In opposed to like a written format like the book, but we
Right.
have the podcast, and we've completed 2 seasons. Right now, we have interviewed 20 people. The first interview, I interviewed my mom because I wanted to know what it was like to march in an HBCU band in the 1960s when she did. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I got to hear about her experiences. Of course, I'd been hearing them growing up, but I wanted them to be like recorded.
Right. Now you got pro.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really proud of that because I just love hearing the different stories from people, and I'll
Right.
I'll just let you know how to get a hold of that. We are found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any of the major areas where you get podcasts. Our Instagram is HBCU Band Experience, and we can also be found on Facebook as well. And again, it's the HBCU Band Experience with Christy Walker. That's the name of the podcast. So check us out, and I hope you can check me out and subscribe and give us a nice rating.
Definitely.
And yeah, hear some
Yeah,
of the
I
stories.
hope y'all all go subscribe. I think that's great. What I love about it is not only is there a legacy and a lineage in your family of that, but you can talk with parents who had probably a totally different experience with a very same band,
Mm-hmm,
very different time. We're talking in the 60s, a lot of unrest and stuff that's going on.
mm-hmm.
Not that we don't have unrest now, and there wasn't any when you went, but still, I just love how same band, different perspectives and
Yeah.
different, experiences of it then.
Yes. I just really enjoy, and I like talking to. I have somebody, my mom's from the '60s, and I have folks that marched in the '70s, '80s, pretty much every decade.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're right about the different experiences. I mean, some things are the same, but then some things are different as well.
Right.
Just even just due to technology and other things that can influence
Exactly.
our society.
Exactly. I love that. So let's think about your experience because you said, Keisha, I wouldn't have went anywhere else. HBCU was where I was gonna go, regardless.
Hmm.
Can you see that experience without the band?
Okay, I will tell you this. I graduated in 4.5 years. I
Hmm.
had an extra semester and I graduated in December. My last semester, I didn't march. I said to
Really?
myself, I know yeah. I said to myself, I want to have like the regular, whatever regular that is, college student experience. And I was like, I'm not going to
Right.
march. I did 4 years. It's all good. I'm ready to move on to the next phase of my life or
Mhm.
whatever. Oh my gosh, it felt so weird. It felt so weird. It just
Wow.
felt like something was missing. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that's what you mean. Like if I could imagine myself like not marching. I actually experienced a semester when I didn't march.
Right.
And to go to a game and to see the band, and it's one thing if I had graduated, if I had got my degree and I was out working, but I'm still a
Right.
student and I was in the band. I mean, I just had mixed emotions behind that.
Mhm.
But I did get to experience it, and it just did not feel right. It was just so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have experienced it like that,
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
and I can imagine like, okay, I've been doing this.
mhm.
And now I'm sitting here and I don't know how to feel about this. Like,
It was a bigger part of my identity than I thought
yeah,
it was. And
right.
then, of course, that semester finished and I graduated and, started to move on to the next phase of things. But I think part of the reason why I even thought about doing a website was because I knew I had a feeling that there was somebody else out there who kind of felt like I did and was missing their
Mhm.
marching experiences and things like that, just
Right.
that whole culture. And so that's one of the things that inspired me to even create the site.
Yeah. I think that's great, especially to stay connected. Because again, you can go to the same school and have a totally different experience, but you can also go to separate schools and have totally different experiences. But what brings you all together is the fact that it's an HBCU school band and you
Mhm,
get to talk about those different things. So I think it's great that you are still connecting with people on so many different levels that get to recall these things. And again, I love how you said we have to start telling our own stories. We have to start getting these things out there because otherwise people won't know. They
mhm.
won't know how much. Yeah, it's hard, but it's worth it. you
Yes.
Look at the connections I made, by being a member of the band, or how many connections I made by just attending this HBCU in general, period.
Well, let me tell you an interesting story. So I will say that I have friends, my closest friends actually did not march in the band. And people tend to think, they associate me with HBCU bands so much. They're like, oh, your besties must have come from you march. Not necessarily. I mean, I have friends that march, but like my
Right,
close friends did not march. And I remember one of those friends saying to me that um this was early on, not too long after we had graduated. She said something to the effect of she didn't want coming back to homecoming. I was trying to encourage folks to come to homecomings every year,
right,
and one of them was like, "Well, I don't know if I'll see anybody that I know, because A&T has a big homecoming and everything."
right,
Which I'm like, "Well, you're gonna find somebody you know." But then I stepped back and I thought about it, and I was like, even if I'm not super close with that person, I know that I can go to Fraser Hall and see during
right,
homecoming and run into some folks that I march with. Like I
right,
know that I could walk up in that direction and see some folks that I know and get a hug and get, like a how you doing. And that
right,
may not be the case for
right,
everybody. And
yeah,
I think is what HB being in an HBCU band has done for me, because like I said, my besties didn't march. I was the only one that marched.
right.
So, but still still my relationship with folks that I march with was very valuable.
Right, right. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. So tell us a little bit about what you do now. I know you say you work, at community
Mhm.
college. So what's a little bit that you do right now?
So I'm currently the director of career services at Durham Technical Community College. I'm in Durham, North Carolina. And so, I'm just responsible for helping all these students get a job in all of our programs that we offer. I provide, resume reviews, cover letter reviews, mock interviews. I speak in classes, I've taught classes. It's just, that's just a big part of what I do is helping students be successful, plan career fairs. I
Right.
knew that I wanted to work in higher education. Well, there were two pieces that kind of came together. One was that I created my website where I worked with a lot of students who were in college at the time because they were marching in the various programs. But then the other part was that I actually taught at Norfolk State University for 2 years, and I taught chemistry, and I really liked it. It just really made me realize that I like working with that group of students. I just feel it's a fascinating time in one's life and one's development. And so I knew I didn't want to work K through 12. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to the K through 12 people. That's not for me.
I know, right? Yes, I feel you on that shit.
My mom is a retired teacher. My aunt is a retired teacher, and I love them, and they're awesome. But it's not for me. So I knew. So I was like, well, I could work with college students. I like working with young adults and adults. Right. So that's what I've been doing really for the past, 17 years full time. So yes, working either in academic advising and career services. I've worked at PWIs. I have my experience at HBCU. Right now I'm at a community college, so I'm getting, exposure to all these types of different environments and working with all types of students. I work with students from age 16 to 75, really. So
yeah. I mean, when you think about it, it is like such an integral time because we graduate and we like, oh, I'm grown now. I'm grown. And then we get on that campus and we like, oh my gosh. When you get to play such an important part of, I think, that transition into adulthood, where I came in one way, but I'm leaving another way. And now I got these career goals and I got these dreams. And, Dr. Christy helps me put that into order, put that into place. I can remember my career advisor all these years ago. I'm about to age myself, but all these years ago, I can remember, she was so important to what I did and things that I said I wanted to do. She was so loving, but very direct. Like, no, that doesn't fit your personality. Like, that's not going to work for you. And she was so right.
Right.
She was so right, during that time. So I think it's especially now where social media and everything else be trying to tell you what you need to do with your life.
Exactly.
Instead of you go and talk to your academic advisor.
Exactly. Or get what I always have gotten through my careers. People who want to be doctors, but they can't stand blood.
Yeah.
or they fail chemistry twice. You're like,
oh, that ain't for you, boo.
Yeah. I mean, I don't say it like that, but sometimes I think it. But there's a professional and tactful way to say that.
Exactly. And I love where you are because it really helps kids sometimes, and I say kids, but I mean young adults at a time where they still may be like, Dr. Walker, I got this degree, I'm gonna get it next week, but what's next? And you're able to give them that very sound advice, and you can draw from experience. When I see, career counselors or even academic counselors and they like in their 20s, I'm like, what you right, what happened here?
Right.
What you know?
Right.
That you can tell somebody something. And they may be good, I know they're drawing on the education only and not from experience where you've been to school, you have your doctorate, so you've been to school a long time.
Right.
You can speak on those things.
Yeah. It's a cool career to have. It's a cool career. I mean, I like working in academia. I like that environment. I'll never say never, but I just don't know if corporate America, it would take an adjustment for me to go back into like a typical corporate job. But never say never, but
you never know with these times.
Yeah, exactly. Because these jobs ain't loyal. They are not loyal.
Hello. Don't I know too well? Like, COVID came and folks lost their mind. We really saw
right
for about to me. So yeah, you're so right. So what's next for you? What's next for Dr. Christie?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm still kind of like in a career searching phase myself. I mean, I don't think you should ever really stop searching for your career, but I've been doing career services for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice to, try something new for a minute. I'm teaching a class right now, and I'm enjoying teaching. But still continuing to do my podcast, just trying to balance it all. um get used to this, whatever new normal is with this pandemic.
Yes.
Still trying to maintain relationships with friends and family, and supporting my loved ones, and just kind of out here trying to do my thing. I mean, hopefully I'll get to go to some games this semester if I'm vaccinated. I'll wear some mask. I'll do what I need to do, but I need to be outside because this no season. This ain't it. This this ain't it. I mean, I need some tailgating. I need some Frankie Beverly and Mays playing in the background as I eat.
Right.
I need to see my people. You know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I'm okay with being inside, honestly. But I do feel you on, especially tradition. It's tradition. And so when tradition goes away because there's a global pandemic, it's just hard to kind of adjust to that. None of us knew last year that that's what we would be until, like you say, a new normal. Like I told somebody, I think it was like yesterday or day before yesterday, I was like, I don't even try to use the word normal anymore because it changes so swiftly. Like one day we were fine, the next day we knew something was coming, and before we knew it had then invaded us, and the country was on shutdown. Like I don't know what normal is anymore.
Yeah, and I just think about and I mean, of course, there are other games than homecoming. Don't get me wrong, but I just think about the huge crowd at my homecoming, and just walking through like the strip and the down where the plots were, and how packed it would be, and how are we gonna have that again? I just don't. I'm blown as to what's gonna happen.
Right. It's so much. I can recall going to PV and it was so many people everywhere. I cannot imagine now going to something and it be that many people. Like
I can't either. I'll just go and look back at my pictures and shed a tear.
That's what I said too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll see y'all later.
And what's interesting to me are the people who like the students now who they were freshmen now, they were class of 2020, so they didn't have a prom, they didn't have a graduation, you know how it is fall on an HBCU campus when you first get back, all the cars are playing their music, everything is just like this new energy. And they weren't able to experience that. I just wonder how it's going to be for them.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about it like that because I can recall my first semester on campus, and if you at Southern, if you were a freshman, you had to stay on campus unless you lived, in the vicinity. But to not be able to experience that, rush. All those things, not to see people, on the yard and things like that. Yeah, I can only imagine experience.
Yeah,
and will be for them.
Yeah, I have a lot of empathy for them. I just it's like they got cheated out of a traditional experience that they wanted. And that's just too bad, but hopefully things will go back to normal. I'm hearing talk of different schools because I have colleagues my counterparts at other universities, and I'm hearing whispers of them trying to go back in the fall, and and at 2019 in this fall, and I'm wondering how that's gonna go, but we'll see.
Right? I'm still not coming outside. I see y'all next, but
Yeah,
I'm not coming
exactly.
outside this year. I am not coming outside, period, at
Yeah.
all. This year. So, yeah, that's, oh my gosh, I can only imagine. But it remains to be seen. We shall
Hmm.
see. We shall
Yes.
see. So, it was so great chatting with you. Tell everybody when the book will be coming out and how they can get it.
Yes, the book will be coming out later this month on, and you'll be able to find it on Amazon. So again, is the HBCU Experience HBCU Band Alumni Edition. So like save that somewhere in your phone or whatever. And
Right.
at the end of the month, you'll be able to find it on Amazon.
Oh, that would be great. And they know I'm gonna be sharing it all on my page as soon as
Yes.
Dr. actually drops the deets. I'm definitely going to be sharing it on my page. But it was so great chatting with you. Can you tell the audience one more time how they can get connected with you?
Okay. So my Instagram for the podcast is HBCU Band Experience. And you can also find me on Facebook. Just type in the HBCU Band Experience with Christy Walker. And the podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and the major podcast outlets you can find it.
That's great. I am so glad that we had a chance to talk. I'm excited about the book coming out. I will definitely be talking to more of the band alumni this week. So
Okay.
tune in tomorrow through Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be talking to some more members of this band edition. Like, this is so exciting to
Yeah.
talk to y'all about this. So thanks again, Dr. Christy, for joining us on tonight. And I'm looking forward to the book coming out. I can't wait.
Well, thank you for having me, Keisha. This was really fun.
Yes, I love it. Have a great one. And
You
thank
too.
y'all for tuning in.